All right. This is my audience. We've got a
Hello.
whole bunch of people. All right. Let's start right here.
All right, this is my second persuasive speech, and I'm Hannah Riddle, a sophomore communications student here at the University of Tennessee. And I am here today to persuade as to why that lessons of empathy should not be taught within the public school systems. Younger generations are often seen as less empathetic nowadays, but whose fault is that? I'll explain why some people believe that lessons of empathy can be taught within the home rather than the classroom because empathy is believed by some to be a genetic trait. Next, I will further prove my argument by telling of how non-authoritative figures teach in ways that end in more cognitively empathetic children. Finally, I'll explain why it is actually better and more effective to teach lessons of empathy in a home setting rather than a classroom. As I previously stated, I'll begin by explaining how teaching lessons of empathy at school can be a waste of time because empathy is actually a genetic trait. It has been stated on numerous studies that the more empathy a parent has, the more empathetic the children will be. While this is a simple statement to make, it's actually better understood once I actually explain what empathy is, because people tend to confuse it with things like general emotion or maybe compassion. In an article titled Children's Perception of Parental Empathy as a Precursor of Children's Empathy in the Middle and Late Childhood, it is defined as the ability to recognize and understand another person's perceptions and feelings and to carefully express that understanding in an accepting response. This is an extremely important trait to carry in today's society, considering we see so many extreme acts more and more frequently due to a complete lack of empathy. In Connecting Children to Kindness, Encouraging a Culture of Empathy by Marie Masterson and Caroline Casey in 2013, they made the all too familiar connection to Sandy Hook Elementary School. A very extreme case of apathy by a shooter caused an outpouring of empathy. Being raised in an empathetic household can easily prevent either of these extremes from happening in the first place. While it has not been scientifically proven that empathy is technically a genetic trait, it has been proven by Maria's study as well that the caregivers begin influencing emotion development in the child's infancy. She states that providing emotionally arousing stimuli at appropriate times, reinforcing and encouraging emotional displays, and responding to subtle variations in the child's expressions are all ways to create a more empathetic person later on down the road. Therefore, empathy should be taught far before a child enters school at the age of 4 or 5 years old. However, that's not the only solution. While it would be ideal to have a world 100% full of delightful, empathetic people to raise further generations of delightful, empathetic children, that is simply unreasonable. If empathy doesn't naturally run through a family tree, there's a way to still produce more empathy-generating skills. It has been shown that non-authoritarian and non-punishing mothers have children with higher levels of affective and cognitive empathy and pro-social behavior. Through Menzies study, that was shown. So even if you are not naturally the most empathetic person, there are ways to parent that will still easily teach lessons of empathy to children within the home. There are also tactics to influence empathy to kids. A simple example is telling children to make a get well card for 6 loved ones and teaching them the meaning of the thoughtfulness in that way. So even though not everyone is naturally gifted with empathetic tendencies, simple lessons can be taught by parents on a daily basis. Now you may be thinking, why would you trust teachers to teach these lessons anyways? If they're able to teach, or why would you not trust them to teach them? If they're able to teach math, science, and English, why can't they teach the youth of America how to care about or feel for others? There are many benefits to teaching lessons of empathy within the home instead of the classroom. Children grow up typically not excited about school assignments in general, so if they are taught lessons of empathy by a teacher that they might not particularly like, they might not take the lesson seriously or reject those lessons. Empathy is generally the ability to participate in the feelings or ideas of others and to feel sad about their unhappiness and good about their joy. While it could be easily woven into literature lessons through books like The Scarlet Letter, most kids skip lessons because they are disinterested in old, difficult-to-read books. Therefore, kids are likely to pay little attention to those lessons if they're forced upon them in school. In conclusion, some researchers and parents believe that the implication of empathy within the school system would be most beneficial in creating more empathetic adults. Numerous studies and research have proven it would substantially be more effective to teach these ideas within the home. By doing this, we can avoid future generations becoming even more apathetic and causing the United States to become even more divided than it already has. Edweek.org says that practicing empathy can sometimes be seen as a soft skill, but simple regard for others combined with empathetic feelings are vital to a more loving society. Denying future generations of that just seems unfair. Right? Oh, Now I'm going to pan back over my audience. Thank you for staying.